sitting with Charles Potgieter right now. He's the managing executive of ABSA Vehicle Finance. Charles, you're the man with the bucks, right?
So they say. Morning, Alan. How are you?
Great.
Good.
And good meeting you.
Same here.
You're one of the sponsors of AutoWeek, right?
We are, absolutely.
Yeah. So aligned with NAAMSA, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And you're putting a lot into it. So, I mean, I know you've got the lounge there, you're providing refreshments, it goes a lot further than that, right? But, okay, let's look at a few things here. Exciting announcement just now, didn't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Slipped in. I love the way he slipped it in. I couldn't even get my camera running in time to catch it. That they are actually looking, and I mean, they're looking at guidelines. So we're probably talking time scale, but for incentives for purchases of EVs.
Yes.
Now, why I'm starting there is, let's get your take from ABSA Vehicle Finance on the EV sector, the new energy sector, because that has been one of the main themes of AutoWeek.
Yeah, I think it's most certainly very exciting to have the president at the AutoWeek, and I think it just shows you how serious government takes this sector.
Yeah.
The sector contributes 5.3% to our country's GDP. It employs, if you aggregate it, almost 500,000 people in the formal economy. So it's a significant contributor to the economy, and that's why President Ramaphosa was here today.
Yeah. Well,
and
sorry, but you say 500,000. Now, you tell me this one. I've always had an opinion, and I heard it somewhere. Every job created feeds 5 to 7 mouths. Is that
absolutely
right?
I think that's it could be more,
yeah.
But I think that's a good average to
so
work
we're
on.
talking, let's call it 3 million mouths in this country being fed by the motor industry.
Absolutely.
And there was actually a figure mentioned yesterday. Sorry that I've interrupted you.
No.
But that in actual fact, if you take a global, formal and informal, it's just under 1 million actually engaged in the motor industry. Can I use that word rather than employed? So it could be up to 6 million mouths being fed. Now that's basically 10% of our population.
Significant, isn't it? It just shows you the power of the automotive sector.
But mind-blowing, is that right?
Exactly. and that's why President Ramaphosa is here. Because it is so relevant. To answer your question around electronic vehicles, my apologies, electric vehicles, EVs.
They're so electronic nowadays.
They are. I think the adoption is slow at the moment. However, we see the adoption of hybrid vehicles accelerating very quickly and really making very, very good progress in the market. I think the South African consumers still have some concerns about EVs, things like range and battery life.
Range anxiety is real. Have you driven EVs?
I have.
Okay.
It's an amazing drive.
Yeah. But have you done a long distance trip?
No, not yet.
Okay, I have.
And did you have the anxiety?
Range anxiety is real.
Yes. so I think things like range anxiety, battery life, the trade values, all of those things are concerns. But as more EVs come into the country, and as the grid expands, the charging grid, and we will see that these vehicles will come in at more affordable prices.
Already happening
with new brands coming into the country, the established brands offering more products that provides the consumer with choice and with affordability, which is a key criteria for South Africans. In the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing at the moment because of the high interest rate cycle that we're experiencing at the moment, affordability is a challenge for consumers.
Totally agree.
However,
I like the however.
The inflation numbers are looking good. We've already seen a rate cut recently.
They're talking at least one more this year, all right?
One more rate cut this year, and potentially 2 early next year. I think the one that we just experienced helps a little bit with sentiment, maybe not affordability.
0.25% wasn't enough. Will November be 0.5%, do you think?
I wouldn't speculate, I always get it wrong. But I think at least 25 points, and then next year we'll probably see another 2 or 3 cuts, which will definitely help.
Another 1% at least by saying mid next year. Let's be.
That's what we're hoping for.
Okay.
And that will help with affordability, and that combined with reduced prices of these EV vehicles, I think it will increase adoption. And the more adoption there is, the more the grid will expand, and then the more of these vehicles that we see on the road, the better the trade values will become, etc.
I was actually chatting to one of the guys a lot yesterday, and there's a bit of a chicken and egg situation at the moment. In that, people don't want to buy an EV because they say there aren't enough charging stations. So they're putting up more charging stations than you need at the moment in actual fact.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why I say the chicken and egg, how much, and I'm talking grid cars, Rubicon, for example. Yeah. How much money do they spend? Because it's all about money. How many more stations do they put out there when at the moment the pool is actually so small?
So small, yes.
But at what point is it going to flip and catch up? And as they said, the worst thing you want is to arrive at a charging station and have 3 cars waiting.
Yeah, because that's an inconvenience where with a ICE vehicle it takes 5 minutes to fill up a big tank. So I think those are the fears and the anxieties that consumers are dealing with. But that's why we are at the NAAMSA AutoWeek, to get all the industry role players together to have discussions to find a way to move us forward, and to find solutions, and maybe to address some of these fears, because I don't know about you, when you drove a long distance with an EV vehicle, whether the anxiety is a real issue or that it's just perceived, right?
Well, it was a commercial vehicle, a van with limited range.
Okay.
So it was real in one case where we actually missed the charging station and it was our own fault. We weren't concentrating hard enough, and we went past one which we should have stopped at, because the old saying, never pass a charging station.
Exactly.
Even with the ICE car, if you're driving long distance, you've got enough range to the next stop, but why not fill up this one?
Exactly.
Simple as that.
You don't want to chance it.
The airlines, for example, they don't fly Joburg, Cape Town without enough fuel to get back to Joburg.
Exactly.
That's the rule, right? So why do we do these stupid things?
Yeah.
So yes, it can be very real, but it's not. It's, as I say, that was more our own fault. There are enough charging stations.
Agreed.
I remember saying on Ignition TV one day, the guy who probably loves EVs the most in South Africa is the owner of the Wimpy in Harrismith.
Exactly.
Because even if the charging station is open, it's an hour or more.
Yeah.
If you arrive 5 minutes after someone else had plugged in, guess what? You're there for 2 hours.
You're going to eat 2 hamburgers.
Correct. So, how's that for banking economics?
Exactly.
So, on the back of what the president just said about tax breaks, are you guys going to give any breaks, maybe special deals for EVs one of these days, where, for example, subsidized interest rates or something?
Look, we
I know you deal with the individual manufacturers on that, but
of course, look, for us, it's really important to create a number of options and flexible options to consumers, to enable the adoption of EVs and hybrid vehicles, because I think there's a good transition between hybrids and EVs over time. And it's very important for us to work with our original equipment manufacturers to find solutions that will enable affordability and B, accessibility for consumers to these vehicles, and that will drive up adoption over time. So absolutely, we'll work with the OEMs to make offerings that and solutions that make sense to consumers.
Yeah, you mentioned hybrids. I mean, I am sold on regenerative hybrids, and if I was buying another car right now, it would be very high on my list as a regenerative.
Yes.
Because just my personal circumstances, charging would be a pain in the of any sort of plug-in situation. But that's me, and I accept that. But I just feel those are really, and also until the tax break, much more affordable, relatively speaking.
Absolutely.
But your early adopters of full EVs, and there are enough of them around now.
Yeah.
Although it's slow, when they move in, and okay, now the prices are coming down, but so many of your early adopters have been at the like 1.5, 2 million rand.
Yes.
Right? Now, most of those guys have got another car anyway.
Yes.
Were you at the presentation the other night about the trip they did down?
No, unfortunately not, but I did speak to some of the gentlemen last night.
Now, they were saying they crossed paths with a group of Ferrari owners, and they were sort of chirping each other, and I said, you know what? The Ferrari owner could very likely be an EV.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's not going to have one car. He's going to have 3, 4, 6 cars.
Yeah.
So, they sound like they're poles apart, but they're not.
No.
Because the guy who can afford a Ferrari is the guy who's a thinker. There is actually synergy.
Yes. But what we want to achieve in South Africa is we want to get the price to that sub 500,000 rand range, because that's really where the adoption will take place.
Well, look, what percentage you can tell me now of cars in South Africa at the moment? I think it's under 400,000. Is something like 60% of sales. Am I right?
Exactly.
Am I correct on my?
That is sort of the right price point for South Africans, and that's why we're seeing so many new entrants into our markets, and we can see that so many of our vehicles that are being sold in South Africa is being produced in India. Because they're coming in at the right
India
price.
and China. That's it. And, sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place here, but what I find very interesting is the fact that they haven't trodden each other's toes. India's coming with it under 300, under 350. China have said, no, we're not going to go down there. We're going the next category up. They're in the 400 to 700 range, but they're coming up against cars from 500 to 900.
Yes.
And offering the value there.
Yeah, I think that's why the industry is complementary. While it's dynamic and competitive, I think what happens with new entrants is it provides the consumer with more choice and more options, which is great for our industry.
It's fantastic. I mean, look, South Africa is actually overspawned for choice.
Absolutely.
Our market does not deserve the variety we have. I'm talking in economic terms. Very few countries in the world would launch a model that is going to sell 100 units a year.
Yes.
They'd say, you've got to be joking, we're not going to get the parts back up, we're not going to... There's a massive cost in launching a model which the public don't, you can't see, it's behind the scenes. And to get it homologated, to get you guys to approve it for finance, you've got to get on your lists as such. So I don't think there are many countries in the world that would actually even have those cars available.
And I think that speaks to the maturity of our industry, but it also speaks to the commitment of the original equipment manufacturers to the consumer in South Africa, to deliver them with a wide range of choice, and that's why South Africans love cars, because they provide us with freedom, but there's also a real emotional connection in South Africa, and South Africans with cars.
You obviously are a petrol head.
Oh, absolutely. I am.
Okay, am I allowed to ask you what you drive now?
No, you're not. But it's big and powerful. I can tell you that. No, I wouldn't want to upset anybody that's here, because they are all our partners. It's probably the most interesting conversation that I have is when I arrive at a place and people say to me, "Oh, can I sell you something?"
Well, now I'll throw this in here quickly. Do you know what car I own?
I'd love to know.
I don't.
Oh, really?
No, my wife has a car.
Okay.
And a very nice car. Also, won't mention.
Okay.
Older, but very prestige brand, whatever. When my daughter got her license, it was a case of I have test cars a lot of the time, most of the time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I'm not going to finance the cost of running 3 cars when I don't need to.
Absolutely.
So I gave her my car,
Okay.
which she drove for the first 6 years and then bought herself a car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So at this point in time, I literally do not own a car.
Yeah, but you get to drive
I-
a whole bunch of really exciting vehicles.
Well, not only, I pride in this. From the smallest, the cheapest, to the biggest, the fastest, etc. And I love my double cab Luckies, I love my 4x40. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
But that's...
You're spoiled for choice,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, I'm spoiled for choice. I mean, I give my wife a new car every week.
Okay, there you go. You know what they say, happy wife, right?
100%. And she's grown to love the whole situation.
So she's also a petrol head.
She's become... I've made her one.
Okay.
And she's my videographer normally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's part of the team.
Oh, great.
But sorry, I'm digressing a lot here. Sean, amazing chat. I think we could chat for hours.
Forever.
But again, thanks for sponsoring, being one of the sponsors behind AutoWeek. Obviously, you've got a vested interest, but at the same time, it needs the big corporates to actually get involved. So not only your vested interest, your personal interest, which I think makes a difference to drivers as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Right.
Have a good day.